With James gone, the work for Thomas, Edward, Percy, Henry, and Gordon was too hard to handle for them. So the Fat Controller decided to go with a plan B to order some new engines. However, the only engines available for sale on an engine detail were diesel. Topham Hatt had bought the entire stack of diesel. However, bad news came coming to Topham Hatt's way. Dave, the conductor, got a memo from the captain that was managing the vessel that transported the diesels that the vessel was getting delayed because one of the diesels was not oiled properly. So Topham Hatt then later took a plan C and ordered a cheap tank engine as a last-minute resort. However, this tank engine isn't like Thomas and Percy, but an old kind of a motored steam engine. A tram engine named Toby then later came to Sodor. Toby arrived at the forest where he met Sir Topham Hatt, who was busy appreciating the beautiful sights and sounds of the forest. "Good evening, you must be Toby. Glad to meet you," greeted Sir Topham Hatt. "Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you too," exploded Toby. "I hope you don't mind that I brought my faithful coach Henrietta with me." "Not a worry," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I'll just hop inside of you and take you to the mainland where you can meet up with all the other engines." "Sounds good," replied Toby, and soon they set off. Once Toby arrived at the Fat Controller's railway, he passed the station where Thomas and Percy were getting the first glimpse of Toby. "A new tank engine?" asked Percy. "Silly Percy," replied Thomas. "He doesn't even look close to a tank engine. He looks like one more of those boxcars we're taking to the harbor." "Then how is he moving by himself?" questioned Percy. "Runaway," responded Thomas. "But not one single car can break away itself. It's always a team," argued Percy. "Fine. Let's make a bet. I'll take your trains for a week if you win, and if I win, you take my trains for a week," suggested Thomas. "Deal," replied Percy. And the two soon set off to see who's right and who's wrong. They caught up to Toby while Sir Topham Hatt was showing him the Tidmouth sheds. Sir Topham Hatt turned around, and then he spotted Thomas and Percy coming down the bend. "Toby, may I introduce you to Thomas and Percy?" Toby was testing out the turntable when he spotted the two of them. "Hello, I'm Toby the Tram Engine." Percy looked at Thomas, smirking in triumph. Thomas then broke the ice. "What brings you here?" "Sir Topham Hatt ordered me from the Arsdale Railway. I'll be helping in the yards for a while," explained Toby. "I'll have to get back to my duties, so Thomas and Percy, please show him how to shunt and take goods trains in the yards," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I'll do it, sir," replied Percy. "Thomas has some passengers and boxcars to take to the harbor." Thomas then left in a hurry, followed by Toby and then Percy. Sir Topham Hatt had nothing better to do than just stroll away. Percy and Toby headed towards the yards, and Percy said, "You know, you can leave that coach in a siding, right?" "Thanks, but no thanks. I prefer to have Henrietta come along for the ride," replied Toby. "I see," replied Percy, nonchalantly. When they arrived at the yards, they met Edward. "Hello, Percy. Who's that friend of yours?" greeted Edward. "This here, Edward, is Toby. He'll be working at the yards for a while," explained Percy. "Do you want to teach him how to shunt?" asked Edward. "Sir Topham Hatt's orders," replied Percy, and soon they began. They put cars into place. took goods to trains left and right. And worked until dusk. Thomas, meanwhile, puffed back to the yards with Annie and Clarabel, infuriated that he lost the bet with Percy. He soon saw Sir Topham Hatt's house in the distance, and then Sir Topham Hatt flagged him down. "Hello, Thomas. I hope you don't mind that I can hop inside Annie," he asked. "Certainly not, sir," replied Thomas. "Hop in." "So, where should I take you?" asked Thomas. "Please take me to the yards where Toby, Percy, and Edward are, or where they should be." "No problem," said Thomas, and soon Thomas, Annie, Clarabel, and Sir Topham Hatt set off. Henry and Gordon were idling at the station, wondering what to do now. Their trains have all passed, and they were ready to go to their sheds. However, they were still bored. Thomas then later came through the station. "Gordon," asked Henry, should we see the yards?" "There's nothing better here to do," replied Gordon. "Let's go." So then they followed Thomas to the yards. "Wow, what a day of shunting," said Percy. "I am relaxed and ready for a good long rest in the sheds," said Percy. "Glad to hear you're excited," said Edward. Soon Thomas arrived at the yards. "Hello, Thomas, what brings you here?" asked Edward. Sir Topham Hatt didn't let her got out. "I'm bringing Sir Topham Hatt here. He requested to see him." "What's he gonna do?" asked Toby, once Sir Topham Hatt step out of Annie. "Don't worry," replied Percy. "Everything's gonna be just fine. Sir Topham Hatt's a nice gentleman, and he won't do anything bad to you." Sir Topham Hatt then turned his attention to 3 engines who worked in the yard today. Toby, Edward, and Percy hauled the fat controller. Now all 3 engines were frightened. Sir Topham Hatt had never used that tone of voice before, said Edward to Percy. "What's he gonna do now?" asked Percy. "Fantastic job to you 3, he congratulated. All 3 of the engines were surprised. The yards looked amazing. They all blew their whistles. And then Percy then later said, "It was all Toby's idea to manage the yards this way." "3 cheers for Toby!" yelled Clarabel. "Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!" cried all the engines that were at the yards. Gordon and Henry also arrived just in time for the chant. Toby felt like he was at home. Only he